It's September 5th, 2022. Men's singles at the US Open in Flushing, New York. We're in the fourth set of a fourth-round match. Rafael Nadal is serving, and it's match point, but not for Nadal. The greatest major champion to date is 1 point away from losing to an American. We need to rewind. This video is presented by Stella Artois, a taste worth more. This little scoreboard over here represents something that has not happened this year. Here, at a major event, Rafael Nadal is very close to losing. In 2021, that would be ordinary. In 2022, it's the exception. Let's catch up. In 2020, Nadal won the French Open, again. They let him take his mask off to eat the trophy, as is customary. That was Nadal's 13th Roland Garros title in 16 years. His 20th major title overall, tying Roger Federer atop the career all-time rankings. It was also Nadal's third title in his last 5 Grand Slam events, which is to say the 34-year-old was still very much himself. A threat to win anywhere, a near lock to win on the clay at Roland Garros. 2021 was different. Nadal failed to reach a major final, even the French Open, and withdrew from multiple events to recover from multiple injuries. After pulling out of Wimbledon, Nadal tried to give it a go for the North American hard court season, but struggled in DC, then gave up and called it a year. Nadal had previously opted to skip the 2020 US Open amid COVID concerns, so his withdrawal from the 2021 event made it 2 straight absences. Rafa later revealed that his foot issues were caused by a rare chronic syndrome. The pain became greater and more persistent than ever before. And then, as soon as he returned from the foot troubles, he got COVID. Nadal would not entertain the idea of retirement, but it was in the air. Rafa's friend and chief rival, Roger Federer, also missed the US Open last year and was openly contemplating the end. Now, 1 year later, Federer is unranked and mostly away from the tour. We may have seen the last of him. Meanwhile, 1 year later, Nadal is ranked number 3 in the world with an unprecedented burst of dominance in his wake. Yeah, the Spaniard absolutely tore through the year-opening hard-court swing. He won the Melbourne Somerset and then claimed major title number 21 with a huge comeback in the Australian Open final. Then he won the Mexican Open just for funsies. Rafa entered March of this year with 15 straight matches won, 3 straight titles won, and sole ownership of the record for major titles won in a career. His foot thing seemed to be better. Good lord, man. That streak did eventually end, but Nadal went on to reclaim his throne of clay. He outplayed Novak Djokovic in the French Open quarterfinal, got a bit of a lucky break when Alexander Zverev shredded his ankle in the semifinal, then he destroyed Casper Ruud to make it 22 career major singles titles. This man has eaten so much metal. Rafael Nadal entered Wimbledon this year, 36 years old and halfway to a true calendar year Grand Slam. And that extremely rare achievement might still be on the table today if not for this. Since at least March, before major victory number 22, Nadal has been dealing with issues in his abdomen. He sat out a bunch of the spring to let a cracked rib heal. Nadal mopped up the early rounds of Wimbledon this year, but as that run progressed, and especially in a grueling quarterfinal match against Taylor Fritz, Nadal was clearly playing through intense pain. Somehow, Nadal managed to win that day, but exams afterward revealed a 7mm abdominal tear, which I don't know if you've ever tried to hit a tennis ball, but you would not want to do it with a torn up ab. Nadal intended to do just that, but had to pull the plug. Before his semifinal matchup with Nick Kyrgios, Nadal withdrew from Wimbledon. Once again, Rafa sat out for a month, and he returned this time looking not quite like himself. Yeah, he has made it to the 4th round here at the US Open, but the road to this match included dropped sets against some far inferior players and some pretty grim body language. In each instance, he figured it out, turned it around, and summoned some fiery resolve to advance because he's Rafael Nadal and you're not. Technically, since the Wimbledon withdrawal happened between matches, Nadal is undefeated in major tournaments this year, 22-0. It remains to be seen whether he can pull off yet another comeback to keep the streak alive, or whether the wear and tear will finally catch him today. We have seen signs of both. When he started wandering over to take a towel break before his lob had even been returned, well, that didn't look promising. That was the third set. But then here in the fourth set, we've seen Nadal punctuate an epic point with a deflating winner and celebrate very emphatically in front of a very engaged crowd. We've seen him battle back from break point to hold and once again go nuts. Right after that, Nadal secured a break of his own to go up 3-1 in this very set. Rafa was so bad. The crowd was electric. Forget old age, forget a muscle tear. Rafael Nadal has 22 major titles and 27 abs, and he will find a way to win. Or maybe not, I guess. Actually, I think it's noteworthy that Nadal is battling an American in America right now, but has still been getting massive crowd pops on those winners. It's because he's a legend, yes, but it's also because, relatedly, Americans just haven't earned much support on this stage of late. Between Pete Sampras and Andre Agassi, players from the United States claimed 7 United States Open titles between 1990 and 2002. When those guys finally seemed to be fading, here came 21-year-old Nebraska-born, Texas-raised Andy Roddick to keep the 2003 title in the host country. American tennis had its next flag bearer to ensure our great nation a steady stream of U.S. Open Oh, no. Oh, wow. Andy Roddick was an extremely good tennis player whose foremost mistake was being born in the 1980s. The same decade when some of the greatest men's tennis players of all time were born. Roddick's peak coincided with that of Federer and Nadal, and then Novak Djokovic joined the scene as well. Andy Roddick would not touch a major trophy again. He is, to date, the last American to win the U.S. Open. James Blake tried, but he didn't get it done. Of course, the U.S. is not alone in this men's tennis dishonor, and at least on the women's side, we've had the Williams sisters to claim a heap of titles for the host country. On the men's side, no such luck for anyone, anywhere. The big three hail from Spain, Switzerland, and Serbia, respectively, not countries that hold Grand Slam events. Andy Murray of Great Britain became the exception to the rule, and arguably made it a big four by winning a couple Wimbledon titles last decade, but it's been ages since an Australian won the Australian Open, almost as long since Yannick Noah won a French Open for France, and yeah, honestly, in that context, a 19-year drought for Americans at the US Open doesn't even seem that bad. It's just that crushing wave of the big three, a wave that's only just starting to crest, has left all those host countries searching for their breakthrough candidate to win a title. Our own versions of what Britain got in Andy Murray. For Americans, no such luck. You want to know the last American to beat Nadal in any round of any major? James Blake, here in 2005. Rafa was a teenager. So on one hand, you can forgive an American crowd for hyping up Nadal. We've just gotten used to front running here because our own guys never hang. On the other hand, it's a lot of guys these days. That's a promising development. Entering this tournament, 13 of the top 100 men in the world were Americans. This bracket opened with a bunch of them involved. 4 seeded American players, 21 American participants overall when you include wildcards, qualifiers, and injury replacements. Good field. And with defending champ Daniil Medvedev losing yesterday, Federer nearing retirement, Nadal playing hurt, and Djokovic insisting he can prevent COVID with cold water and meditation, this is a very good US Open for someone to make a breakthrough. But from 21 nominees for that breakthrough, the United States is now down to 1. Him. All the other Americans are toast at this point, except him. Let's talk about Frances Tiafoe. On that pleasantly long list of ranked American men's tennis players, Tiafoe stands out. Multiple American tennis stars are children of immigrants, but only Tiafoe's family comes from Sierra Leone. His parents fled the Civil War separately and met in Maryland, where Francis and his twin brother Franklin were born in 1998. Multiple American tennis stars grew up around the game of tennis, and so did Francis, but not because he's related to a former pro. His father, Constant, often called Francis Sr., worked at the tennis center in College Park, first on its construction and then full-time on its maintenance. Francis Sr. lived in a small makeshift apartment on the grounds of the facility, and for most of each week, so did his young sons, sleeping some nights on massage tables. Francis and Franklin could literally roll out of bed to play tennis and watch elite players train in their free time. Both took to the sport simply because it was there. Tennis chose them. Francis, in particular, became obsessed with the sport and began to receive training at the center. Francis became a fixture and a force on the junior tour, then turned pro in 2015, the year he turned 17. The years since have marked a gradual, steady climb. Tiafoe didn't burst into serious major contention as a youngster like Roddick and some other Americans before him. Tiafoe was likable off the court, fun to watch on it, and improving bit by bit, but entering his 20s, he hadn't quite broken through. He won his first ATP title at the relatively small-stakes Delray Beach Open in 2018 and did so as a wild card. Tiafoe's first deep major run at the 2019 Australian Open seemed like it might be the start of something, but he got smoked by Nadal in that quarterfinal and failed to repeat that kind of success at any major thereafter. Tiafoe exited pandemic isolation with a new mindset. Forget being fun and lovable while hovering in the middle ground of rankings. He wanted to be great. He changed a lot of things about his training and got to work. Still, Tiafoe has flamed out of this year's first three majors. His best run was at Wimbledon, but he failed to reach the quarterfinal after blowing a 2-1 fourth-round lead against David Goffin. The City Open last month wasn't a major, of course, but it is Tiafoe's hometown tournament in DC, and it represented a chance to grab a second career title. And then Tiafoe squandered 5 match points and lost to eventual champion Nick Kyrgios in the quarterfinal. It just hasn't happened yet for Francis Tiafoe, but now here we are. We just might be seeing the next level of his capabilities this week. He's played lots of close sets, including 4 tiebreaks, but he hadn't dropped a set until today. Tiafoe is still fun and lovable. He still practices in basketball jerseys, still smiles more than most. Francis shuffles around the court almost as if he's limping. He's got an unusual serve and a kind of slappy forehand. He's fun. He has also been an absolute killer. Almost nobody has his lower body strength or his ability to generate pace on the move and at impossible angles. Here's an example of the above. Almost nobody can turn this body position into a winner. And then Francis finished that third set with a no doubt about it ace. Tiafoe's got more winners and more aces than his legendary opponent and has kept his errors in check. But it's not just power, it's persistence. Tiafoe got broken early in this fourth set, but didn't get in his head and start flailing. And it's touch and timing, like this disgusting approach drop shot in the middle of this set, which set up the break point Francis needed to get here. Nadal has been much likelier than Tiafoe to commit a silly, unforced error like this one at a critical moment. And of course, it's the angles. It always is with this guy. Mere seconds ago, Tiafoe created his first match point by taking a wide 117-mile-per-hour Nadal serve and just flicking it out of reach like it was nothing. Check the crowd reaction on that one, by the way. You couldn't blame these fans for cheering on Nadal at times, but Tiafoe has fully won them over. They can feel it. Rafael Nadal has had an incredible bounce-back year, and he's managed to slog through this tournament despite his injury. But this appears to be the moment for an American man to break through at the US Open. And not just any American, but Francis Tiafoe, whose background and gradual rise to prominence are one of a kind. Let's see if Francis can finish the job of taking down a Titan. Welcome to a moment in history.
US has 2-1, 6-4, 4-6, 6-4, 6-2.
Feel it, kid.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Rewinder. Check out more stuff like this on Patreon with no ads. And otherwise, I'll see you on the internet. Take care.